Yes, people, how are we all doing? Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about bullies in prison and what happens to bullies and what do the bullies do in prison. But I'm going to upload a few videos at the end of this as well, just to show you some evidence from inside the prisons about bullies, because people have asked us, is there much bullying going on in the prisons? And the answer is yes. Bullying is absolutely rife in prison. Some people might say, because I've heard a couple of people say in the comments, it's nothing like that. Believe you me, bullying goes on. If you've been in prison and done a lot of time in prison, not just a month here and there, if you've been in prison for a long amount of time and you see what actually goes on the landings, and more times than not, the ones that are committing the bullying is actually the ones that are the weakest. These are the ones that are in prison for, should we say, low level, or not low level, but a low grade of crime, which is thieving, robbing houses, burgling, robbing old grannies. These type of people are the predators in prison that pick on the vulnerable. So in prison, I've seen it where you get 4 or 5 of these type of criminals in prison that get together and they do exactly the same in prison as what they do on the out. When they're preying on the vulnerable, like old people, going and robbing the houses, robbing the handbags, different things like that, these are the ones in prison that are committing the most amount of bullying, because they look for a victim on the wing, someone that can't defend themselves. And when people say they've never seen it going on, they never say it going on because they're sly about it. A few of them will get together, and then when it's association time, where you can go on each other's pads, this is where it's happening. So they're inside the pad where the door's shut, and the 4 or 5 of them, or however many there is, are bullying and intimidating the pad mate. They're getting everything they can out of them. They're not bothered about what damage they're doing to this inmate. They're not bothered if this inmate's going to string themselves up because of them. All they're bothered about is getting what they want. They're bothered about getting the belongings of them, getting the family members to send money to them so they can get more money for drugs in prison. They can get the spice. And this is the type of bullying that's going on inside the prisons. And like I've said, a lot of people will say, well, it doesn't go on. It does go on. I've seen and heard instances where, I'll give you an instance where a group of Scousers and monks were having it with a certain person. They'd been on the same wing for 2 years and they'd all been getting on. And they had a bit of a fallout with one lad, and they were like a pack of wolves. They were all turned on the one lad, and they went and raided his pad. The lad had a load of good stuff in his pad. He had a load of designer gear. He had a big blaster, one of them hi-fis that cost a few £100 out of the catalogues, because in the high security prisons and the Cat Bs, even the Cat Cs, you can get a private spends once a year, where you can buy a hi-fi, you can buy nice clothes, nice trainers. And this inmate who had fell out with his gang, and this was his own gang that he'd ran with in prison for 2 or 3 years, on the same wing, getting drunk on the weekends on the hooch, on the food boat, going to the gym. And like I've mentioned, they had a disagreement about something, but because the lads in the group that had the disagreement with him were the hierarchy of the group, the rest of the lads all turned on him. And like I said, they gave him a few digs, they broke his jaw, went in his pad, took his hi-fi, took his clothes, took his trainers, and scarpered him off the wing. He had to go on another wing. He didn't go on protection, but he went on to another wing where the lads on the other wing didn't really agree with what had happened to him. So they welcomed him onto the wing, and he just got on with his time. Obviously, he tried not to bump into these lads down the gym or anything, because the same would happen again. There's a pack of them, and they'll all jump on him and do him in together. So these are the different scenarios and different types of situations where bullying goes on in prison. And I'm going to show you some other scenarios in the videos that I've uploaded here, where the inmates are giving the other inmates spice for their own entertainment. When you're in prison, the prisoners might think to themselves, well, that's not bullying. The prisoner wanted the drugs, so they have given them the drugs. But yes, the prisoner might have wanted the drugs, but they have given them the drugs. But then they're getting humiliated afterwards. As you can see, one of them, they pretend he's on a dog lead when he's out of his head. The other one who's out of his head, he looks like he can't defend himself anyway, even if he wasn't doped out of his head, has been slapped in the face with a lump of yogurt and the inmates are just getting bullied and intimidated, and they're doing it for their own pleasure. So again, people might think, but that's not bullying, but it is bullying, and it goes on in prison, it's rife. But the lads that are doing it won't think of themselves as bullies, because like I've mentioned, the lads are coming to them wanting spice, and they're giving them spice for free for their own entertainment to see what happens afterwards. But that's the scenarios what's going on inside the prisons. But on the other spectrum of it, on the other side, the other scale, what happens to bullies in prison? Now, even though these same sort of lads that were given these spice and humiliating them and having a laugh at them afterwards, these are the type of lads as well that if they do see bullying going on in prison where they don't like it, where someone that they know who is a respectable lad but he can't defend themselves, if they see him getting bullied, then they will actually pay someone in spice to take a hit out on the bully, which I've seen numerous of times where the bullies end up getting bullied, where they end up getting sliced, hot oiled, you name it, it happens to them. And if someone's on the wing bullying the rest of the lads and some people are feeling intimidated because the bully is quite big, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to want the bully off the wing. They're going to want him gone. So what do? They pay someone in spice to go and slice him up or chuck hot water on him. Or an instance I'll tell you about which I've seen in Franklin. I'll not go into detail too much because I have repeated it a few times. But for the new subscribers, I've seen this bully. It was actually Paul Sykes' son, who was called Sharpie. At the time, he was about 22, 23 stone. He was a massive lump, massive unit of a lad. No one could really do anything with him toe to toe because he was that big. And he had a formidable force about him, and he would be a force to be reckoned with. But again, he was going around the wing. He was taxing the dealers. He was taking drugs off people. People were becoming a bit unstable. So what do you think happens in a high security prison like that when people keep feeling vulnerable? When big time gangsters who are running the wings are feeling vulnerable because somebody's on the wing and they're thinking, is he going to come around here and try something with me? So what happened to him? Someone went and paid somebody in a lump of spice. No, sorry, someone didn't actually pay this one. This young lad was getting a bit fed up and he went and acted out his own justice. He went and got a coffee jar he smashed the coffee jar and the coffee jar was full of chili powder, and he's went up behind Sharpie, rammed it in his neck, twisted it in, all the chili went in the cut, his neck was pissing of blood, and give Sharpie's due, he's turned round, chased after the lad down the landing. But as I'm saying in this episode, the title of it, what happens to bullies, and is the bullying going on in prison? Yes, there is, and the bullies do get it in the end. But like I say, there's different levels of bullying as well. When there's bullying going on like this, or if somebody's friend or someone in their firm is getting bullied, that's when they'll get retaliation and they will become unstuck and they will get serious beatings or slashings or whatever else happens to them. But bullying is rife within the prisons. It's happening in every prison, and it's not just by the prisoners. The prison staff bully the inmates. I've seen that as well firsthand. So it's not just the inmates that need to look out for the other prisoners. It's actually the staff that do a lot of the bullying. But again, in their minds, they're thinking they're not bullying because they're just getting them told. The prisoners are not listening, but they forget some of the prisoners are suffering with their mental health. So the staff then just use that against them and go on and bully them. And I've seen it firsthand where you've been on the servery and some of the lads are coming down for the bait and the screws, they just stand there taking the piss out with them. They're making the rest of the prisoners laugh. So everybody is laughing at this one inmate, but everyone thinks it's one big joke, but it's not one big joke to the inmate that's getting laughed at. So that's another situation and scenario about bullying in prison. So anyways, people, I'll put a couple of clips on at the end here about situations in prison that I think is bullying situations and situations where bullies have been owned. I'll put some pictures on at the end. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you are liking the content, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day, people. Take care.
Yes, very differently. You know what you done, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you do? You pissed out the wrong person, didn't you?
Yeah.
You first took a slap. You're gonna pay the money, ain't you?
Yeah.
Well, how much you gonna pay me today?
5
5 what?
bags.
Yeah, and then how much you owe me on top of that?
Another 5.
12, 7. It's 12 altogether.
Yeah, 7.
I've already stripped you naked, haven't I? I've got the video of that. What am I gonna do if you don't pay ball now?
You said you're gonna shave my head and put a crutch up my ass.
What about the peanut butter?
Oh yeah, and the peanut butter on your feet.
And what are you gonna do with it?
Eat it, you said.
Man made him shower
Look at this now.
his
Look
clothes
at this now,
and
fam.
wash
This little
his
fucking
self with
critic.
Radix.
Try violating me whilst I'm fucking sleeping here, fam. Watch yourself with this fucking radar.
I will. I apologise, no, fam. You punched me up now.
Yo, my man going on the lead now. You've been. Woo! Right. He's got him on the lead. Take him for a walk, blood. Come on, get up now. No, Colin, come on. Go on. You're the boy. You're a good boy. He's a good boy.
Come on, sit.
Go on, go for a walk, boy.
Sit, give me Paul.
Look at the dribble, blood. Look at the dribble, blood. Go on, boy.
She don't dribble at that seat, you know.
He's a good boy.
Oh, Corona.
He's finished.
Oh, I thought somebody could listen. Show me. Oh, you didn't get my face in it.